here's the kind of the main problem that causes a lot of confusion is the term evolution can mean a lot of different things. It can mean just that, well, all human beings come from a common ancestor. That's one way of taking it. Another thing it can mean is that, and this would be the way like someone like Richard Dawkins would use the term, would be that plus this additional philosophical add-on that says, and God didn't have any role in it. You see, I would call that a sort of atheistic evolution. Now, the Catholic Church has taught that it is an opinion that one may hold that man's body came about through some sort of evolutionary process. Okay, that is something that's allowed by the Church. So that if you want to call that evolution, that's a type of evolution that would be limited. Permittable by
limited.
It's not a Dawkins sort. So what I mean is that you can't just take the word evolution and say I agree with it or I don't. You have to nuance that term.
So just a while back when Pope Francis made some mention of it, and John Paul II had too, also
this is what
made
the Church
mention,
has always taught.
And the world flips it and spins it and says, "See,
this is nothing new."
Yeah, the Church has basically said.
Saint Augustine had an idea of some sort of quote unquote evolution. He thought God created the world with what he called the rationis seminalis, these rational seeds. And then that stuff, that creation would unfold over time and to develop into higher and higher life forms. He thought that was a greater display of God's power than if God were to create those things directly. So this is not some sort of retreat against Darwin's theory. This is 1,500 years before Darwin. Bonaventure endorsed this idea. St. Thomas Aquinas himself spoke favorably of this sort of Augustinian creation / evolution where things just unfold over time. So it's divinely guided. So that's why I'm always careful about when people ask me, what do you think about evolution? You have to, draw the appropriate distinctions there.
Yeah. And I think most people, in our common parlance, secular world, they'll say, well, it's either evolution or faith. Yeah. But most people, they might not be a strong believer and they say, oh no, I believe in evolution. They don't really believe what Dawkins is saying, that there is no human soul. We're just purely material. I mean, most people can acknowledge there's something different about man. He has a human soul. We have this gift of language. We can love, knowledge, use reason and will, have freedom. And that soul comes from God, right? What does philosophy tell us about that?
Well, the Church's other side of that position is, although Catholics may hold that man's body came about through some sort of evolutionary process, we also hold that there is a soul which is immaterial, and that could not have come from this evolutionary process. That would have had to come from God. So again, it's a nuanced form of the term.
Right.
And our theology says that God created that soul at the moment of conception.
Yes.
That's a beautiful teaching of our faith. He willed us into existence.
It's hard to think of something, if we do have this immaterial component, we're not just computers made out of meat. We do have this immaterial soul part to us, and I think human reason can show that. But it's very difficult to think of this immaterial thing coming from some sort of physical process like evolution. Like, how can these atoms banging into each other all of a sudden create an immaterial soul? Sure. It doesn't. It just seems incompatible.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. And the video we're about to see here from Christophonic, I think, kind of emphasizes some of that as well. Is that there is this mysterious depth, this unexplainable ocean of treasure in each and every one of us that could not come from just a couple of amoebas having a bad day, connecting together and crawling out of the water, and all of a sudden growing into us human beings. So that's my simple way of putting what you just said so eloquently and philosophically.